What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with your DFS preview for this week's AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. There is a lot to talk about because of those last two little words on the end of the Pro-Am aspect of this. But before we get to that, big shout out, big time applause to everyone who hit on Webb last week. He was in my core. A lot of you sent me lineups and results and bets for Webb Simpson, whether you added him before the tournament or after two rounds like I did. It seemed like a lot of us got a piece of Webb Simpson, someone that I've kind of been beating my chest over for the last couple of, months. Very cool to see him get it done. And I was on the wrong end of a 4-year-old bet of Ricky Fowler when he was 2 up with 2 to go at the Waste Management, ends up blowing the 2-shot lead, losing in a playoff to Hideki Matsuyama. So a little bit of personal, I don't want to say revenge, but it came back to me yesterday as Tony Finau was 2 up with 2 to go, and it was Webb who comes back, gets into a playoff, and ends up winning the thing. So I guess we are all square for the Waste Management Open. We're even. It owes me nothing, and I owe it nothing. For this week, I've got a couple of winners. So a lot of you sent me actually winning lineups and winning bets, but here are the winners of the draw. So 1 week access to DFS On Demand, which is all the tools you're going to see today. That's my website. Rye Sheeds is number 1, and Monte Griffin is number 2. If I have not reached out to you already, I will. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll get you set up with a week for DFSOnDemand.com. If you would like to be entered in a drawing this week for the same thing, there are 2 ways to enter. Here on the video version, make sure you are subscribed to the RickRunGood YouTube channel. That's a no-brainer. Make sure that you like this video and comment below if you were the amateur in the group this week, which golfer would you want to play with? That could be someone really good or someone that you just think is fun. So who would you want to play with? And then if you are on the iTunes or audio podcast, leave a 5-star review. Rating, say something nice about the show, leave me your Twitter handle so I can get in touch with you, and that will get you entered into a draw for a week subscription to DFSOnDemand.com. All right, I think that's all. Let's jump into this week's AT&T Pebble Beach. All right, as we did last week, and I think this is a good place to start, is the course key stats. That's where we're going to start. This feels weird not to start on the cheat sheet, but we're going to start over here on the course key stats. That way we can identify the types of golfers that we're looking for and then move forward with that information onto the other tools. Very logical, right? So this week, back to a 3-course rotation. I believe this is the last one that we have. Maybe for a while, maybe for the rest of the year. This time of year seems to have a lot of them because of, shorter days. They have to get this tournament, these tournaments in. You see them more often here. I'm trying to rack my brain to see if there are any others, but I don't think there are. Anyway, 3-course rotation. It is Pebble Beach. That's your host course. It is Spyglass Hill and Monterey Peninsula, all in that Pebble Beach area. They are not, unlike the American Express where they have the 3 easiest courses on tour. These are actually kind of difficult courses, or at least they are above average difficulty in the 2019 season. I think all of them played in the top half of the most difficult courses. Pebble Beach, the most difficult, I think it was 12th out of the 39 or 49 courses on the PGA Tour last year. So we're talking these are a bit more difficult. You're still going to see 17, 18, 19 under par. The thing that you'll also notice is this is the Pro-Am, right? These are long rounds. They're going to take 6.5 hours because Dustin Johnson's going to have Wayne Gretzky in tow, and it's just going to take a while, and some guys can deal with that and some guys cannot. Additionally, the host course, Pebble Beach specifically, and Spyglass Hill and Monterey Peninsula are generally shorter courses. That does not necessarily mean that driving distance is not a prerequisite to win, although driving distance is always going to be important. Even if it's a shorter course, yes, shorter hitters can come back into play. They have a chance to win, but longer hitters are still going to have an advantage, presumably if you can hit fairways and you can hit these little tiny greens that they have at Pebble Beach. I believe they are the smallest greens on the PGA Tour. Being able to get up and down, that is going to come in handy this week. It's just a weird different type of course. Pebble alone has a lot of kind of like specific landing areas that you want to hit it into. And we've seen a lot of it with the US Open last year. It's been on, the Pro-Am aspect has been on tour for a long time. So let's jump over to the actual course key stats here as I adjust my microphone. What you'll actually notice is the highest ranked of the most common stats is driving distance. So again, I understand this is a short course. I understand that you do not have to be long, but what this is saying is longer hitters have had more success here at Pebble Beach specifically, or this event, than 44 of the 50 courses on the PGA Tour. This is ranked 6th. Driving distance ranks 6th here at Pebble Beach. Driving accuracy also important. Then you get some above average ones like strokes gained putting, strokes gained tee to green as normal. I would caution you, we're only going to have shot link data from Pebble Beach. This is the type of situation where I'm not sure you want to go all in on the course key stats because lack of information, only 2 rounds at Pebble. There's a 3-course rotation. There's a lot of things that go into it. I'm actually going to show you something pretty cool here that I'm working on before we even get into the cheat sheet. So let me see if I can do this really quick. Let's go over here. So what I've been compiling, and a lot of you, if you're already in the Slack channel, if you're already a member of DFS On Demand, you're already in the Slack channel, I've been working on this, which is a strokes gained total database going back as far as I can. So I believe I'm back to at least 22 years at the moment, where this is only strokes gained total. So it's comparing the other rounds on that day at that event and doing a strokes gained total number. So it's not breaking it down into approach or off the tee or anything like that because we don't have laser measurements going back that far. Shot link data doesn't even go back that far. This is just raw strokes gained numbers, but I still think it's very interesting. So what I've done here is I've thrown in the salary sheet and I've thrown in this event. Now, keep in mind, there are still 3-course rotations here, but what we can see are guys that have had really good success here over the years. So I just went back the last 10 years. I can go back. So I can go back to 1980. I only have 23 years at Pebble Beach, but Jason Day in his 10 starts here, averaging 2.4 strokes gained per round. Dustin Johnson, 2.3. Jordan Spieth, 2.3. Phil, 2.2. There's guys on here, but I'm just going to go back to, I'm going to go to 2010. I don't think we need to go back too far here. But Paul Casey closing in on 3 strokes gained per round. And you can see that's over 8 rounds here at Pebble Beach. He's only played here twice. So what I've done is I can click this and I can see those rounds that he has played. And you can see, okay, wow, yeah, he was awesome in 2019. He was awesome in 2018. He's someone that might fit the mold here because very good with his irons, very good with wedge in hand. Paul Casey has had good success here. What I also think is interesting, so we can go through these guys here. I mean, Bill Haas has only played it once, but he's averaging 2.75 strokes gained per round. And my goal is to eventually make this available on the site, right? I want you to be able to come in here and click through all of this, but still cleaning it up. This is still very much a work in progress for me. Daniel Berger, I think, is interesting. So Berger hasn't played here since 2015, which that's when he averaged 2.1 strokes per round in 2015. And I believe it was still the round of the day yesterday, the final round of the Waste Management on Sunday. I think he was 4 under. By the time he had finished, that was the round of the day. Not sure anybody else got there on him, but a very good finishing round for Berger. Now going back to a place where he's had success at one time, maybe there's something there. He's $8,900, which, this field's fairly weak, which we'll talk about in a second. But what I also want to show you is this, because I think this is actually a really cool aspect of this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw a filter on here, and I'm only going to show you round 4 data. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I know round 4 was played at Pebble Beach. Okay. Obviously, the problem using this tool this week is you could do round 1, and some guys could have been at Pebble, some guys could have been at Monterey Peninsula. I will fix that and do it by course. But right now, what I'm doing is showing you just round 4 because I know this was all played at Pebble Beach. And if you look at this, the guys that have had really good success in round fours over the last couple of years. Max Homa, in his 2 starts here, his round fours, last year he gained 4 strokes on the field. 2015, he gained 3.5 strokes on the field. Not to mention that Max Homa, let me see if I can pull this up. Max Homa, if you go to the live leaderboard on PGA or on DFSOnDemand.com, not PGAtour.com, and just go to the weekend, so sort by rounds 3 and 4. Max Homa was 6th best tee to green in the field on the weekend. Now going back to a place where, at least on the host course, he's had a little bit of success. I actually am starting to convince myself that Homa is kind of knocking at the door here. He's 8,300. He's playing well. He's had good runs here, especially at Pebble Beach. That to me is really interesting. Graham McDowell will be popular, I assume. $9,200. He's gained nearly 3 strokes at Pebble Beach in those final rounds over the last 2 starts there. He's coming off the win in Saudi Arabia. He has to fly back for it. A lot of things in play, but I imagine Graham McDowell will probably be pretty popular. Scott Stallings, he's got 3 final rounds here, averaging nearly 3 strokes gained. Now, 2 of them were really good. The last 2 years, Stallings flew up the leaderboard on in the final round, which would have been 5 strokes gained, 6 strokes gained. 2017, he actually lost strokes, but that's still a pretty good average. Then you can see a lot of these guys like Ryan Armour, Brandt Snedeker, Jason Day, guys that tend to be, at least the last 2, a bit more of course specialists. So I thought that was a really cool way to kind of break out round 4 and show you that and see if we can identify a few diamonds in the rough, which I think Homa actually really is. So let's go over to the cheat sheet here. Let's finally jump into this and see where we're at. We've got 5 guys over $10,000, led by Dustin Johnson. The only argument you're going to get against Dustin Johnson this week is the fact that he's coming back over from Saudi Arabia. He finished 2nd there to Graham McDowell. He seems to be getting back into the swing of things. I love the way he's playing. He has the best, most elite course history around here. I mean, DJ's just been great at Pebble. Seems to fit him really, really well. There's also, so that argument about coming back from Saudi Arabia, I went back and tried to look at the times that he went overseas and then had to play the next week over here, and it's kind of a mixed bag. He actually hasn't done it all that often where he plays in the exact next week, but I think he did it last year. He finished, I want to say 6th at the Farmers, which was his first tournament back. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me, but he had 1 top 7 finish, and he had a 45th, and he had a missed cut. So I don't know what we can glean off of 3 times he's flown back from either Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi in the last 6 years. And, he's had 1 top 10, a couple of disappointing finishes. I don't know how much you want to glean off of that, but that would be the only knock against Dustin Johnson this week. I do think that, the next couple guys, Paul Casey specifically at 10,500, he's, I think, very interesting. I don't know if I'm going to end up playing him, but we already talked about how good he's been at Pebble Beach. The last 2 years are really the only 2 years he's played it. 8th 2 years ago, 2nd last year. And I don't think it's that much of an exaggeration to say that Paul Casey has played more golf than anyone, basically since the end of the PGA Tour season last year. So after the Tour Championship, he went over to Europe, played 3 straight events over there. He won the European Open, the Porsche European Open, finished T11 at the BMW, and then missed the cut in Italy. Then he went straight to Japan for the Zozo, and he did that swing where he did Zozo, WGC. Then he went straight to Dubai for the DP World Championship. Then he went to the Australian Open, and then he came right back and came and played the Tournament of Champions. So he's played so much golf recently. It's all been okay. It's all been pretty good. He hasn't been disappointing. He hasn't been bad. This is a course that really fits him. I think if he was playing any better, his ownership would be a lot higher. His price might be higher. I think he's a very interesting play at 10.5 because I know a lot of people are probably going to opt to play Jason Day at 10.3. I don't necessarily hate it. I rarely, if ever, play Jason Day, but you're going to see this field falls off a cliff at look at this. 9,700 is Matthew Fitzpatrick. Phil Freaking Mickelson is 9,500. That's insane. So like it does fall off a cliff here. So I really do want to get some of these guys up at the top. And Jason Day is definitely in a tier above a lot of these other guys here. You're not going to get better course history. Just the last 5 years alone, he's gone 4th, 11th, 5th, 2nd, and 4th. Played all right at the Farmers. He ended up finishing 16th. Like, things at times, it wasn't all 4 rounds, but things at times looked good for Jason Day the last time we saw him. I think that is actually positive momentum that we can get there. So I'm okay if you want to go out and play him, not dying to do it, but really I think you have to get one of these guys above, like, you know, Jason Day and up. I think you got to have one of those guys in your lineup. I've talked about this a lot on kind of all different mediums that you see me on, whether it's the first cut, whether it's golf betting on demand, whether it is whatever else you see me on. I'm not going to play Phil. I'm not going to play Jordan Spieth. They are still being priced as if they are not these guys that are outside the top 50 in the world. Jordan Spieth again misses the cut at the Waste Management. I don't know. Something's wrong. It's just not working for him. In this range, though, Victor Hovland's interesting. And what I'll try to do later in the week, make sure you follow me on Twitter. It's at RickRunGood. I want to go get the data from not only the Pebble Beach stuff, but also the U.S. Open. Obviously, Pebble Beach hosted 2 events last year. It hosted this event and it hosted the U.S. Open. And I believe Hovland was the low am at the U.S. Open last year. So didn't play in the Pro-Am, but did play at the U.S. Open. So I'm interested in checking that out. So I'll tweet that out if I can find it. Someone else that kind of jumps out in this range, I mean, Cam Champ, believe it or not, even just since Mayakoba, he's coming off, no, even I guess after that, 3 straight top 21s, 16th at the Farmers, 21st at the Amex, 14th at the Tournament of Champions. I guess that doesn't count. But 33rd back to Mayakoba. Had a top 30 finish here last year. One of the key stats that we showed earlier was driving distance being so important. Very few guys on earth can hit it like Cameron Champ can. So, you know, this is one of the weaker fields that we're going to get for Champ at a place that he's been at least okay, 1 for 1 in made cuts, 1 for 1 in top 30s. He's playing well. Like I'm not going to be that interested in Cameron Champ a lot of weeks, but this week is certainly one of them. I don't know how I'm going to stay away from this right here. This Max Homa 8,300 number compared to guys I like, but not that I'm interested in playing, like Adam Hadwin, Ches Reavie. I love those guys. He's cheaper than Kevin Kisner, is cheaper than Rafa Cabrera Bello. $8,300 for a guy who now has 2 straight top 10s, 6th and a 9th. He hasn't missed the cut since, I can go back and find it, but a 10th place finish here last year. I showed you the round 4 numbers. I showed you the weekend numbers from the Waste Management. Feels like a pretty good Max Homa spot, to be quite honest. And those are words that I've obviously never said before, but knocking at the door in the same way that we kind of talked about Webb knocking at the door a little bit. Max Homa's doing something similar, and actually we can just pull him up real quick. Let's go over to the golfer profiles and see if we can get a look on Mr. Max Homa here and just see what he's been up to. Bear with me. Oh, I'm such a bad clicker. There we go. My computer gets very slow when I screen record. All right, here we go. So here's Homa, and you can see, like, I'm very concerned about this right here, which is like the 10 straight tournaments he lost strokes around the green. I'm concerned about that because these greens at Pebble are pretty small. And if you miss them, you're going to have to get up and down. Now, he's been better in these recent 2 starts. And it also, to note, like, he's been better with his approaches, which obviously is going to, like, he's not going to be relying on that short game as much if he's firing darts. But yes, there is concern here about Homa, but you can see all green for the last 2 tournaments. He's generally a pretty good ball striker off the tee on approaches. That around the green game certainly kills him, and he's kind of a mixed bag when you get onto the putting surface. He can lose 3, he can gain 4, he can lose 6, he can gain 6. Like, he's kind of all over the place, which is good because I think I want that volatility in the most volatile of stats. So yes, the around the green concerns me, but when you are talking about $8,300 for a guy who is trending well, has played well here, Yeah, I think, and especially compared to his peers, that's something I think I'm going to invest in. Let's see here. The Tom Hoagie train, that might be over. I mean, still 4 straight top 25s. Faded a little bit after the first round last week. Has had a lot of trouble at this event in the past. He's missed 3 of the last 5 cuts. Hasn't finished inside the top 39 in any of the last 5 years. So that Tom Hoagie train, that might be staying at the station this week. Here's Scott Stallings. So this was another one of the guys that showed up in our little round 4, strokes gained at Pebble calculation there that we were doing. So last 3 years, 14th, 7th, and 3rd. And he hasn't missed a cut at least since Bermuda. 18th at Bermuda, bunch of 40s and 50s since then, but he's at least finding the weekend. I think you could do a lot worse than Scott Stallings in this field. Lanto, wow, man, he really needs to bounce back. 2 really bad missed cuts in a row. He is now down to $7,200. Let's see who else we have here. It's pretty ugly, quite frankly. Oh, this is, I said this a couple weeks ago. There's like 6 times a year that you can play Brian Gay and not have it really be a terrible idea. This is one of them. 7th and an 8th in the last 2 years. The fact that he's not a very long hitter, but he is very accurate, that's okay here. 3rd in Bermuda, 3rd in Mayakoba, and then he kind of ran into the gauntlet, right? He got kind of crushed at Sony, crushed at the MX, crushed at Waste Management. But if you're looking for a bounce back, again, very ugly range down here. I would not mind necessarily getting to Brian Gay. I don't know who else we're going to go with down here. Let's go to the key stats, because I feel like that sometimes shows us a little bit of value here. Let's go for driving distance first, since that is one of our most important. So you've got Cam Champ at 8,800, Ryan Brem 62. That's almost the min. Gains off the tee, neutral on approaches, loses around the greens, and loses putting. Not great. Very inaccurate driver of the golf ball. 45% of fairways hit. That is pretty bad. If you're super desperate, I guess you could get to him, but not thrilled about it. Patrick Cantlay 3rd, Tyler McCumber 6,600, and Sung Kang 73. Sung Kang's kind of interesting because he's been playing well. Actually, let's look up Sung Kang really quickly. So Sung Kang 7,300, gains off the tee. Let me let's go find Sung Kang here, because I think there's going to be some things that point towards playing Sung Kang. Let's go look up Sung Kang real quick, because I think he might be actually a little bit interesting. So here's the strokes gained database by round. So he had a top 20 finish in San Diego at the Farmers. He finished 16th. Then the Waste Management, he finished 52nd, but he was really gained all 4 rounds off the tee. Lost the last 2 on approaches. Didn't putt particularly well all week. Yeah, all right. So, okay, look at this. So here's Sung Kang. This is not necessarily all of his Pebble Beach data here. So here, look at this. Sung Kang, dating back literally until 1980, which is as far back as I have, and even it's not complete back to 1980, but Sung Kang has the best single round in my database, 123,000 rounds. And the single best round was here. Round 2 of AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am in 2016. I don't know what course that was. I'm going to assume it was not Pebble Beach, because that's the harder of the ones. But let's see if we can find Sung Kang in just the Pebble Beach events. Let's do this really quickly. So Sung Kang, 3 starts here. And let's look at them this way. Yeah, okay. So by round, 2019 last year, he gained strokes total in all 4 of his rounds. He was pretty brutal in 2017. He lost 2.6, lost 4. He did have 1 round where he gained 6, so it's really kind of been feast or famine. And then that massive year that he gained 12 in a single round 2 years ago, he ended up gaining like 10 for the week approximately. So 3 starts, 1.5 strokes gained per round here, but it is very, very volatile. I thought I had saw his name earlier when I was clicking around. So that is Sung Kang for you. Let's go back to I want strokes gained approach. Obviously, this is what I always want. I want strokes gained approach. Let's see if we can find some value. Matt Every always pops up here. Unfortunately, he doesn't do anything else very well, and he's also a massive risk to withdrawal seemingly every single week. Here's Victor Hovland, 91. I don't think I can start my lineup here at Victor Hovland, but if he was my second man in, I think I'd be pretty interested in that. Gains off the tee, gains on approach, hasn't been playing well enough to garner too much ownership. He's sneaky long. Like, that seems to me to be like a really interesting guy at $9,100. Ryan Armour at 65, Ches Reavie at 82, Jim Furyk at 78 rounds out the top 5. Adam Hadwin's kind of interesting too. 8,100 now that he's back. Let's go look what he did last week because he had a baby. So let's look at so he finished T40. Only gained 0.6 strokes putting total last week. 0.6 over 4 rounds. Did he do any better on the weekend? Yeah, he did. It was terrible tee to green, but gained a lot more putting, which is what you would expect out of Adam Hadwin. So I'm kind of interested in getting back on the Adam Hadwin train because of the irons and because of how hot we know his putter can get. Let's look and see $8,100. Yeah, 18th place finish here last year, 39th 2 years ago. That's the only 2 times he's played it in the last 5 years. So Hadwin could be kind of interesting. All right, I think that'll about do it. We are over 20-something minutes here. It's a very unique event. Because of its unique nature, I will try to tweet out as much information as I can, separate some of this stuff out for you, maybe show you what they've done at each one of these individual courses. That might be helpful as well. So if you enjoy that, let me know. Tweet me at RickRunGood. Leave a comment below. I will talk to you guys soon. Best of luck this week.